about hybrid and what that means, hybrid agency. And then the other thing that I want to go into is this idea of disruption, because you're right. What just changed fast-tracked a lot of disruption. I think the real estate industry would be another example of that. So, but first, tell me what you mean by hybrid agency.
Yeah. So, I mean, historically, if you talk to most agency owners or freelancers, service providers, they're getting paid time for money, projects, retainers, and it's labor. At some point, it ends up being they're doing the work for you, building a website, running your ads, yada, yada, yada.
Right.
And at some point in the beginning of your career, or maybe still in your career, you were hired because you also know something and have expertise. And I think there's ways to monetize that without necessarily being tied to labor. And so the hybrid agency is just having a kind of a complementary offering of very premium services, bespoke if you want, but having a done with you stream of revenue, training, workshops, high ticket consulting, and then even eventually a lower stream of more DIY courses, information type stuff that all complement each other. I think that's the main thing, that align with the trajectory of the outcome that you're trying to help your client with, versus just creating courses and training for training's sake. But taking your intellectual property, mapping out into a process, and having offerings kind of in those three tiers as available ways to serve people, rolling them out one at a time, not all at the same time, but eventually having that like a suite of ways to make money. And that's essentially what we did, to the point where we had the choice to not have to do done for you work anymore unless we really want to, and the deal is really sweet. And so we just chose not to do that. But we have some clients that now have, 12-week coaching programs that you can either from there upgrade into their, customized services for annual contracts, or, coaching for a 12-month program. And there's just different types of people that need different things. And you can actually, at least how we see it happen, is oftentimes agencies, like, they max out on capacity because of bandwidth on fulfillment. And they reach that zone of, I'm at that point where it's like, I either need to hire more people in order to serve more people, but I don't want that. Like, there's some people that just don't want that anymore. Like, maybe they, like me, they came from a big company and they don't necessarily feel that that's what's for them. So they're stuck. It's like, well, it's this like cat and mouse game. I want to grow, but I don't want more people. So how do I do it? Well, if you can serve the same type of person in a different modality that doesn't require hands to keyboard labor, well, you can actually increase your capacity without increasing your hours. So like, there's an alternative path, which, by the way, I know it was in the post and it's probably our fault more than yours. We rebranded earlier this year to Alt Agency, which is really kind of what the hybrid agency is. And that's really kind of the mission, is like, develop a hybrid agency, you'll be happier.
I can vouch for that. I mean, definitely. My agency started back in 2007. So for those of you who don't know who I am, I started having a website agency. It's called NG Enterprises, which stands for No Guts, No Glory. And over the years, we allowed clients to buy blocks of time, and we would do all sorts of different things. Mm-hmm. In fact, we became known as like, we'll be all things to all people all the time. And it was hourly. And honestly, it was so stupid, for lack of better words, of me. Like, I had to get to this point where we had 200 active clients, this big team. And it was like, I was burning out because, first of all, if you're all things to all people, it is painful to try to systematize that, because you were doing all of these little one-off custom projects, and you would do it one time for somebody and not do it again. And it just felt like I was constantly spinning my wheels. And then, like you said, you're matching your dollars for hours, and it just wasn't smart. But I'm so stubborn. It like literally took me until I was at my max, until I got the lesson. And then I remember the first person I turned to was Greg. And I said, how are you doing it? What are systems? And I'm asking him about his SOP playbook. And, I was interested, but I didn't really understand the value of it until I just had to hit that sort of pain point. And I think a lot of people probably experience that. Elizabeth, in your world and the people that you're attracting in, is everybody that as stubborn as me? Or, does everybody have to get to the point of misery until they learn the value of systems? Or do you find that people come in earlier in their company or later? What are some of the trends you're seeing?
I think everyone at some point in their business has to hit that pain point for themselves. It might be different based on, the industry they're in or how they do it. I certainly hit it. Like for me, I was in a trading, dollars for hours kind of business. I had the one-on-one business model. I had consulting. And although you can have a high billable hour, it's still, to your point, burns you out. So for people that come to me to work with me or our team, they're usually connecting because either they're seeing a little bit ahead of what's going to happen, like the pit they're about to fall into, and they're like, okay, I want to start becoming more proactive because I've seen how other people do it, and they're inspired and they have a different outlook and desire that they want to aim for. So we start building in, to Greg's point, like an ascension model that they can build different ways for people to come into their pipeline and work them up the ladder and have different income streams for their company and so on. But I think right now with what we're dealing with is that many people are experiencing this pain point together because they're forced into it. And something Greg said that I just want to highlight and really, he's hitting the nail on the head when he's talking about the fact that, I don't know, life's not going to go back to normal. So I hear a lot of business owners saying like, I just can't wait for the bans to lift and to be able to reopen my doors. And it's like, no, all those people who just moved to working out at home just got a taste of like, oh, now I don't have to commute to the gym and I don't have to use this disgusting sweaty equipment that the guy in front of me just used. And like, I saved myself a bunch of time. Like, you can't just pivot during this time. You actually have to evolve because people are going to be on the brink of extinction or at least becoming irrelevant really quickly if they just either do the worst possible thing, which is wait for the government or whomever to tell them when they can do what they got to do, or if they just pivot temporarily and don't realize that the rest of the world is evolving because we've experienced a new normal and certain things are not going to ever go back to the old normal because there's been an evolution. So I'm seeing a lot of people making changes based on that pain point you talk about. Like it has to happen now. And unfortunately, you still see people who are still not, they've kind of fallen out of, they don't have that growth mindset of like, well, I'm a restaurant owner. How am I going to bring my business online? Or, I train people in person. What am I supposed to do? Or I'm a consultant. I travel around to all these big businesses and that's how I take care of them. And they're not thinking outside the box as an evolutionary entrepreneur who needs to say, wait a minute, we're not in a temporary time that's changing. Times are changing. This is like, we're moving in rapid speed here. And my heart breaks for the people who haven't yet started to think outside the box because the time is now. And there's also, there's a lot of pain in what's happening, but there's massive opportunity in that. Like sometimes we don't make a change unless we experience a pain so hard, like Amber, where you were ready to lose your mind and burn out. Had you not experienced that, had you stayed just below that where you could sustain, maybe you wouldn't have made the change, because you could deal with it. But because you felt that thorn in your side, it's like, gosh, I got to do something different. I'm not living the rest of my life like this. So hopefully more people feel that thorn aggressively enough that they start implementing some of these strategies to evolve, bring their business online, bring in multiple income streams, passive income streams, and a product suite that can serve their people outside of a time for money model.
So to both of you, like what advice do we give to people right now that are having a hard time accepting the new reality, or they honestly don't know what possibilities there are? And bonus, they don't know who to trust because the online world, you're dealing with a lot of people who are really overwhelmed with technology. And so they're overwhelmed there. You go into the online space and everybody's saying that they're the world's greatest coach and marketer, and you don't know who to trust. And it's like, you don't know what your options are. What advice would you give to somebody to kind of calm that down a little bit and even take the first couple of actions towards something?
I'll
that
let
next
Elizabeth
thing.
go first.
Okay. So I think the big thing that I like to remind people, because they are in a state of overwhelm, is I don't think that you have to create this whole new leg of your business that's brand new to you and completely foreign within the time frame that we're all locked at home. I think you have to open your mind to the fact that it's like, oh, this is the direction I need to start moving in. And the first thing that I do with people who this is totally foreign to, where it really is difficult, this is beyond a pivot. Like for some people, this is
Ooh,
almost like creating a new business, like
it is.
something
Yeah.
completely foreign. So for those people, I like to say, like, okay, we're going to handle this differently than some of my clients who we just need to scale their businesses. First things first, I do this exercise I call mining for gold, where we really take someone in their industry, and whether it's a restaurant owner, a yoga studio owner, someone who has something, probably either time for money or in person, that's really hurting right now. And I say, let's mine for gold. Like, what skill sets do you have? What expertise do you have? What experiences have you gone through? What have you learned throughout your lifetime from those experiences? What have you survived? What accreditations do you have? Take every little piece of fleck of gold that you have in you, and let's pull that out first, and then look at it in black and white on a piece of paper and say, what can we do with this? Because maybe it's taking it and turning it into a high level consulting opportunity. Maybe you're I'm working with a client right now who came to me, who's a salon owner. She's dying on the vine, so are her people. It's like, okay, you open the doors to this incredible salon, and you create, it's kind of cool. She has a salon that is specifically like all natural products, organic products.
Oh yeah.
And
Nice.
this is really trending now. So how can you teach other salon owners to make that transition to a more natural space? This is something that you can do online. Like,
Totally.
she was thinking more in terms of like, I do people's hair. It's like, no, 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 you don't just do people's hair. You know how to build a business. So let's extract this gold out of you, figure out how we want to package it. Is it an online course? Is it a high level mastermind for other salon owners who need to make this transition too? And how do we bring that to market? Yeah, again, maybe we won't bring it to market in the next 10 minutes, but now we're positioning you that whether it's in the next week or the next year, you have a foundation to build upon. So I like to do that mining for gold exercise to give them confidence and evidence in what they have within them that they can bring to market, just in different modalities, like Greg said.
I literally want to take that, what you just said, and like freaking blast it everywhere and buy Facebook ads for it, even. Those of you that
I
are
support
watching,
that. You
Yeah,
can
yeah.
do that for me.
I support that.
Free ads for everybody.
Right.
For those of you watching, that was such good advice. I think more people definitely need to hear this message. So I'm going to have a call to action right now. Please tag a couple people in the comments, share this video on your timeline, send it out to your email list, go send a couple of text messages to people. I mean, this is how we rebuild right here with this conversation. So that was awesome. I want to thank you, and thank you to all the viewers for sharing this. Greg, is there anything that that came up for you on advice that you have for people?
Yeah, I took a handful of notes on
I
things
did
that
too.
I kind of wanted to
Yeah.
cover.
Good.
First, kind of in line with what Elizabeth was saying, and we kind of started touching on this. And actually, I'd love for your opinion as well here in a minute. Like, there's clearly, as an entrepreneur, it's like, I mean, I feel like I find myself gravitating towards the people that have the mindset of like, this is an opportunity. There's a silver lining here. And I know that there's obviously other people in the world that maybe aren't entrepreneurs that, like Elizabeth said, like are significantly impacted. And I'm not trying to downplay that. I am going to hit this up from like an angle of entrepreneurial a little bit. I'm shocked that there's still entrepreneurs that I come across that have even been in business for 5+ years that are still kind of taking the, like, the scarcity, I'm going to wait this thing out mindset, which seems to me counter to an entrepreneur. But nonetheless, there are apparently these people. And I have a new client that just got started with us. His entire business completely wiped out from this, based on his clientele. I mean, they designed presentations for like keynote stage speakers, and then they help people get on stages. And that's actually not the person that you think I'm talking about. It's someone internationally, and just kind of a different angle of that. And like all of the conferences are canceled. And like they went from $100,000 months to literally like $10,000 a month, like that. And yeah, their business will probably bounce back. But what he said to me was amazing. And I'm finding more and more people like this, and like honestly want to be around more people like this, because he's like, this was the greatest thing to happen to my business, because the last 5 years I've been absolutely miserable. Our business does great revenue wise, but I've been completely disconnected, going through the motions. Like it hasn't grown. It's just sort of been there. And like, I haven't been happy, like coming to work every day. Like I've just been super disconnected. The team sort of runs it. And he's like, this was the punch in the face that was like, hey, you don't have to run a business designed this way if it doesn't serve you. And he's like, I'm going to reinvent this thing how I want.
Yeah.
And he had all these ideas and like in alignment with what we teach. And that's how he found us. And he's like reinvigorated, and he's like just the thought of what this could be. He's like, I'm working 18-hour days, like, cause I'm excited again. And I do think that there is an opportune time to look at this as a way to reinvent yourself if maybe you weren't happy with exactly what you were doing or how you were doing it. And what's also interesting is, you know, he also said something along the lines of, and I wish I had it like word for word, but he's like, I have permission to fail. Like COVID gave me permission to fail. Like no one's going to say you quit or gave up because of what happened. Like this is your free pass. Like if you weren't happy with what was going on, like this is your free pass to be like, all right, I'm going to completely change what I'm doing. And like, no one's really going to kind of give me crap for quitting or bailing out or whatever, because I can kind of use this as an excuse, right? Like almost no one's going to give you a hard time for that. And so like use the free pass. Like if this is, if you see that as an opportunity, like take it and run. That being said, I think, you know, leads me into like the main thing, and some of the stuff I want to cover are less business related, I guess, but like control what you can control. I mean, the routines, like your mindset. I don't know what everyone watching or listening does for like a morning routine, but like I had to readapt my morning routine with like being quarantined, and like adjust how I was doing it, adjust what I was consuming, because I would read certain things and I would just start my day all negative. So, I mean, like consume stuff that inspires you, you know, take care of your health, your mindset, read books. Like, I mean, there's so many things that you need to do, I think, as an entrepreneur to like win your mind, win the day, win the week, you know, that
1000%.
like I have to do that. Also, I'm going to go insane. And so think about like, are you letting certain things that you literally have no control over, you know, derail you? And it's like, control what you can control and focus on that. Because again, there are silver linings in all of this. So we have clients that, yeah, their businesses have been hit, but they know it's temporary. And they're like, I'm going to use this time to stack new skills. Like I'm going to learn new things that can help me take my business to the next level. So while my revenue is not growing, like my skills are going to grow. And like, I know that I have a deficit in this area. So I'm going to go learn that. I'm going to go buy a course. I'm going to go hire a coach in this area so I can grow in that specific zone. Another opportunity is like audience building. I mean, yeah, again, maybe your pipeline, no one's buying maybe in your market, which I challenge fundamentally as well. But like, it's never been more cost effective to like run ads. You can always start creating content, do stuff like these live streams, build an audience of people that, so when they're ready to buy, like you're top of mind. Like there are things that you could be doing that you, again, have control over that will fuel future business that maybe aren't like short-term financial windfalls. But like, if you're an entrepreneur, we have to be in this for the long game anyway. This is likely going to go on for a while, potentially recession is what everyone is talking about. So like start capitalizing on the things that you can capitalize on.
Yep.
And then I think lastly, just get perspective and get help from people. Like hopefully some of you that are watching this series are going to have a new perspective about how you can be, you know, capitalizing in this time and thriving in this time versus just trying to survive. And like, if you're around people constantly that are, you know, Debbie Downers and like the world is falling, you should get around some new people, possibly that are on these live streams that Ember's putting together. And like, you'll see things in a new way that might just open up a whole new world of opportunity for you. And then get the help that you need. I mean, also, I know money's different situation for certain people, but like, we've invested in multiple, like we're hiring people, I've invested in different programs, you know, to up level my skills right now. So like, I don't know everything, so I can go get help from others. And even those people are the people that are opening my eyes to like, hey, stay positive. We got this. Here's how this thing is going to help you 3 months out from now. Might as well get started now. So that's my high level, so to speak, rant.
It's amazing. And you covered such a range, which I really appreciate, especially when you were talking even about morning routine, and community is a really important one. What you're putting in is really important. You know, I have a tendency, I'm a little introverted, even though I seem extroverted. And so I have a tendency at the end of the day, I just want to be alone. Like, that's not my time to want to go be social and, you know, FaceTime a bunch of friends. But you know, for the introverts, you would think we would be great in an environment like this. But I've also noticed that feeling quarantined on top of being introverted, it can make you a little kooky up here. So like it's important to me to be around community and be careful and really extra mindful of what I'm watching on Netflix or what music I'm even listening to. I mean, I've noticed that those little nuances has really made an impact. So Elizabeth, you said something about a little while ago about how the advice that you're giving to people who are trying to adapt and transition completely and start something new is different than the advice as to somebody who's like seeing an opportunity and wanting to scale right now. So I do want to pivot into that conversation of what advice we would have for people that have an opportunity to scale and what advice we can give to them right now. I just wanted to touch on something really quick before we do that. So this will give you time to be thinking about it. If you are somebody that's trying to figure out the online thing right now and you are overwhelmed by technology, I feel for you personally, because when I started my business, I knew nothing about the online world. I will tell you, I was excited about it because it felt like a challenge. It felt like something new. I need to be challenged and hands-on, otherwise I can get a little bored. Just in all honesty. So what I did was I went online and I taught myself code. Now this was the ultimate shock of my life, because it's not like I had that mindset coming in at all. I mean, you're taking somebody who used to work in restaurants. Then I sold Cutco cutlery for a while. I was in management with that. I learned speaking a little bit. I went to college for marketing. Where in does it make sense that somebody would want to learn code? I mean, I really don't know, but that's what happened next. And Google was an incredible resource for that. I taught myself how to build websites, and I just started blogging about what I was learning about. Totally random. I had no plan. I hadn't invested in coaching or a course. And what happened was, just by doing some content marketing and sharing what I was learning with other people, the people just started coming in and they would ask questions, and I would start to find patterns in the questions. And then I would ask them, well, what do you want to hear more about? And then I would research that and I would tell them more about those things. And then it just sort of naturally happened. It was very organic, very magical in a way. And that can be the story for anybody. My dad is somebody who, you know, he might not go and decide to teach himself code and start a website because he says, oh, there's enough people on the planet building websites right now. And we have this kind of banter, this joke about it, that he resists when there's a lot of competition. And I'm looking at it like, there's 50 million website designers on the planet, but I really believe that there's enough business for all of us. If you stay consistent and frequent, if you're all about relationships, you'll start to carve out your own pocket in the online world. You don't have to worry about what everybody else is doing. It really doesn't matter in the end of the day. Just focus on the little community that you're drawing in, ask them what they need more of, provide that, have a focus on an excellent customer experience. And that really is going to help you build a magical business. Let the people direct the course of your business. So I share that because, it really can be that easy, I think. Sometimes when we're doing research, it looks like it's this big, scary, complicated, overwhelming thing, and we're at a disadvantage because we don't know how it works. I'm here to tell you that's not true. You can create anything that you want. When it comes to scaling businesses, though, is that a completely different animal, a totally different conversation, or is it kind of more of the same? What are you guys telling clients who are in a good position to actually scale up as a result of this economic change?
I think it's actually right. You like teed up exactly my thoughts on it, which are now is such a beautiful time for positioning in the market. And really sinking your teeth into how you want to be seen, what you want to be known for in the market. And really, so my theory on business is if you don't solve a problem, you're not going to be in business very long, right? So what prior to this crisis, you should know what your client or ideal client or customer, whatever's pain points are and what their desires are. But you also need to realize that right now during this specific time, and maybe for quite a while afterwards, depending on the situation and the client, their pain points are shifting. So this is also a great time to shift with their pain points just enough to address them directly, and their desires might come to the surface, because what happens during a time of crisis like this is people start to really see what matters, right? So like all these visions and dreams they had of like the big home and all these amazing business goals might kind of be like, I don't know, brought to the surface of like, gosh, that really doesn't touch the thought of just being more present with my kids, or having more quality time with my spouse, or being able to really care for the people that I'm serving. So their desires might change. So if you can be hyper aware of what their new pain points are and what their new desires are, and seek to serve them at a higher level, focusing more heavily on those things, I think your positioning is going to shift in the market, and you're going to be seen as that authority figure, someone of value, and really a leader. And a leader doesn't have to have all the answers during this time. There can be that level of vulnerability and leadership where you're saying, I'm in the trenches with you. Like, I'm trying to figure it out. Here are the things I'm working through. It's not that you always have a solution, but you're always solution focused and solution oriented versus, oh, woe is me. Look at what's happening to us. This is what's going wrong in my business. Here, let me be one of the 8 billion people complaining about the next thing. And you're just solution focused. You're really trying to serve people well and share the journey, but always, share the wisdom in the journey. And for me, from a tactical side of it, it's a tremendous time to be growing your email list. And if you haven't, as a business owner, made that a focal point, maybe this is a really nice time to do that. And you can do that by creating the solutions to those pain points, creating the bridge to those desires for your ideal client by saying, okay, what are the things they're facing right now? And what free value, like these, webinars we're doing or so many other things, can I create for my client based on what they're going through as an opt-in, as a freebie, as a way for me to grow my list so I can serve them even better on the tail side of this thing and throughout it. It's, I know a lot of people are very leery about selling right now, and I'm in the camp with Greg of, I would challenge that. Like, you still have tremendous value to offer. People are still spending money, and it's really none of your business to decide whether or not people pull out their credit card for you. That's their decision and their financial decision. You still have that moral obligation to present your value in front of people, not take advantage of people, but, present it. But if you're really like, well, I have a launch coming in a few months, but in the meantime, what can I do to continue to scale? Create that proper positioning, really establish yourself as a leader in the market. even if it's a thought leader, like it doesn't even have to be a leader specifically in your industry, like stand up for what's right, you know, be there for the underdog, like just position yourself how you want to be seen in the market, and grow your list, develop opt-ins, whether it's webinars, an ebook, it can be a PDF, a video series that drips into people's emails, a free call with you to help. Like that's something that I did. One of my main pillars in helping people scale their businesses is health, because I fundamentally believe that unless you optimize your body, you can't optimize your brain, and you can't produce at the highest possible level as an entrepreneur, period. No way around it. End of story. So one of the things I was offering, because I have a strong skill set in that was a business that I kind of got into the market with, was in the health business and then transitioned, and I have a passion for it, was a free call with me to help people just kind of get on the right health track, like a quick consultation, no cost. Just give me your email. And that way I can continue to serve you after the fact, but let me help you get a win right now. Because I know you're tired. I know you're working from home. I know you're eating junk food in their cabinet. I know you're probably not exercising properly. How can we get you on the right track? So you have value to give more of it, and grow your list in the process.
That's awesome. And I would add to that before you go, Greg, that in scaling, I have to think of Bob Berg right now of Go Giver. And I love in his book that he says, if you want to have a greater impact, if you want more money, if you want more fill in the blank, just get in front of more people. And it's so true at the end of the day. Like if there's one thing I would have you focused on right now, speak. Open up your mouth and speak. Speak to small groups, speak on live streams, speak on summits, speak on videos that you put on YouTube. Repurpose that throughout your whole list, but just speak. You don't have to worry about, well, am I perfectly converting, and did I have the structure right, and did I build out the script? Just share what's in your heart and in your mind to share. When you are of service and you have little platforms to speak upon, it really grows very, very quickly. Yeah. So that's my advice around scaling. Greg, what do you have?
Yeah. Kind of quick before I go into my thoughts on scaling, we were talking about, the people who have an issue with selling right now, which has come up a couple times. And it reminded me of a quote, or maybe not a quote, but something that a mutual friend of ours said recently, Amber, Mike from CEO Warrior, Aguilera. Is that how you say his last name?
I always say Aguilera, but I think I say it wrong.
Something like that. From CEO Warrior. He basically said, stop thinking about selling and start thinking about serving. And if you're serving, to serve is when other people will purchase the value that you create. And I just thought that was like kind of like a good reframe on that for people that feel like selling right now might be icky. Well, go out there and serve. And if someone wants to give you money for the service and value that you create, like that's good. So go serve.
Yep.
So on that, so scaling, I think, is interesting. Obviously, depending upon what business you're in, who you serve, your business might have the opportunity to continue to focus on scaling because your business is blowing up. If you're not, one of my former coaches, Taki Moore, says, don't sell the dreams, like don't sell the dream, sell the life raft, or don't sell the yacht, sell the life raft. And it's like, so some people, depending upon who you are, maybe you need to just be focused on the life raft right now in your business or your client's business, back to what Elizabeth was saying, focus on the problem that your prospects have. But since the question was really about scaling, like think about if you are in a position where your business is growing and you can double down on that, good, you should. But, I do think scale is just like this really annoying buzz term right now. And no one like really actually breaks down what it means. And they talk about scale when really what they mean is growth. And so first of all, scale is not a destination. Like that's not a place you arrive at. Like you need to be scalable, like with emphasis on the able part. And so like, what does that mean? I mean, ultimately, if you look up scalable for not the word to word Webster definition, it has essentially a lot to do with the ability to handle an increase of on demand, like in certain areas of your business. Can you handle an influx on demand tomorrow, right now, of new customers, new orders, can you fulfill on that? Like, does delivery break down? You know, a lot of the e-com businesses that suffered, that, you know, had supply chain issues, like they blew up, but they still couldn't handle that growth. Like, that's a scalability, you know, somewhere a scalability issue. And so, if you are growing, like, I would start to maybe be identifying, like, where are the current bottlenecks? Like, is it in lead generation? Like, is it in the sales process? Is it in fulfillment? And like, if whichever one is the biggest one, can you like hunker down on starting to make improvements in that area during this time? Like, if there's downtime, like, and you've been wanting to desperately document a certain process so that you can offload it, like, maybe now is the time to be doing that stuff. So fortify the systems in and around the areas that are the, you know, the biggest bottlenecks, and/or process, and/or even, again, doubling down on team. A lot of people lost their jobs, and that means a lot of people are looking for work, and there's a lot of talented people. And not to devalue anybody specifically, but you'll probably be able to get really high caliber talent for not as much as you historically would have needed to pay them. And they need work. You can give them a new opportunity, possibly the ability to work from home if you have a virtual team. And so, like, maybe it's time to bring in some of that talent that you've been, you know, looking to bring in. Again, if your business is in the position of, you know, being able to grow, I would just kind of look at where you can fortify and maybe make certain people or things redundant, you know, so that if you do lose someone, that the whole thing doesn't fall apart, you know? So that would be my scale spiel.
And I would add too, really consider if that's what you want to do.
Yes.
Like, yeah, you mentioned the buzzword scale. It's like, that's what I should do. Really? But what do you want to do? Like, I'm not convinced I want to scale in the way that I've seen other people scale. So you really have to explore, back to Elizabeth, like the kind of lifestyle and the kind of freedom that you really want. And so just know you don't have to do any one thing, right? Follow your heart there.
Yeah.
I'm very aware of the time. I know we're a couple minutes over. With your permission, we did get a question from somebody in the audience. It's a fast one though. So we'll do like super speed round. But Ken is asking, is there one book that you have read during the self-isolation period that you loved and would recommend? I was looking
Go
around.
ahead, Greg. I see your wheels turning. Do you have one? I have one in mind, but you can go ahead.
I have two, to break the rules. One is, I was doing it beforehand, but The Daily Stoic.
Oh my gosh, I love that book. I was just talking about it yesterday. I have it.
I read that every day. And that's definitely helpful in this time. And then this is the other one. I don't know if you can see it. 177 Mental Toughness Secrets of the World Class by Steve Seibold. It's sort of like kind of like quick lessons, very similar to Daily Stoic. You can read one a day. I've essentially been reading one a day, and it's just like mindset reframe from, you know, world-class caliber people.
Awesome.
Since Greg set the precedent, I'm going to break the rules too. I have two as well. One is something I come back to usually twice a year, and it's actually a workbook. It's John Maxwell's 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership workbook. And it's like every time, I've done it so many times over the last like 5-6 years when I was first introduced to it. And I feel like it extracts the next level of leadership in me and humbles me majorly, because it actually is giving you, you know, questions to both reframe but also apply what you're learning. And it really shines a light on the gaps in my leadership and where I can improve. It's something I use for my team and my organization, and sometimes some of my clients. So I highly recommend it. And, you know, like the books Greg recommended, which I love, Daily Stoic, they're quick. You know, you can do these, what you read and what you do is very quick. And then the second one, because I feel like it's so poignant right now, especially for the people out there being like, oh my gosh, I'm either super unfamiliar with online business and what it would even mean to bring something in that space to market, or they are, you know, working from a small list, or they want to grow their cash flow. Jeff Walker's launch book is fabulous for that. And he talks specifically about the concept of a seed launch. So basically, you've got nothing, including no list, no product. How can you bring something to market with an actual strategy, even if this is like a foreign language to you? So for anyone that's like, this is a whole new world to me, I highly recommend Jeff Walker's book. You can read it probably in a weekend, and I've gone through it multiple times, but I kind of was reading it again just to make sure I had some touch points to bring to some of my clients who are in that situation right now.
Awesome. I'm going to definitely get those. I have two of, anyway, it doesn't matter. I'm getting 2 books as a result of that. Mine might be predictable Amber, but I have to say, Fix This Next, Mike Michalowicz just launched this book last week. He created a business hierarchy of needs, basically to help you pinpoint the problem that is really preventing your growth right now in your business. And it's interesting because he has an evaluation that he takes you through. And if you're an established business owner, you might think, oh, well, sales, I got that. Profit, no problem. Order, yeah, I'm okay at that. But yeah, I'm really struggling with this one all the way up here. And his eval tool at fixthisnext.com will actually show you that you probably have something all the way here at the bottom that you're not even aware of. And that's actually preventing your growth and creating more obstacles at different areas of your business too. It's just, Mike is such an entertaining author, so it's really easy to read. He's funny. I love his stories. A huge nod to Jeanette Harper, who is his writing partner. They just make a phenomenal team. And this book has helped a lot of people. We started sharing the book last fall with some sort of beta testers for it. And there are these business coaches that are going in and using this methodology as their coaching material. And it's just unbelievable, the results that have come from it. So that'll be a fun read for you.
I'm almost done with it. It's really good.
Yeah, cool. Thanks. Thanks for supporting Mike. Well, guys, thank you so much. I seriously, all I had was Post-it notes, and I have all of these Post-it notes of notes that I took during our conversation. So I can only imagine what the impact was on the people viewing this, not just live, but also in the replay. I just feel like this Elevate series is something so much more significant than anything I could have ever dreamt up. And it's just such a pleasure to be able to have these conversations and to deliver this kind of content out when the world really needs it the most. So thank you for taking your time and just sharing your wisdom. I really am grateful for you too, to have you guys in my network on my side.
Thank you.
Ditto. Thanks for having us.
All right, guys, go forth, enjoy the rest of your day. And just remember, no guts, no glory.